Ugh, I... This took about 50 recordings to actually record. This is madness. Alright, I'm gonna do well on this try. I'm gonna be real. The Natlan hate is getting ridiculous. Now, at the time, a lot of these criticisms seemed understandable, or valid at the very least. Natlan's not living up to being the nation of war. Malwika's a Mary Sue, and the designs suck. Okay, not that last one. As the patches go on, and the more discourse I've seen from actually intelligent people, the more my heart opens up to what we've been given, and what it means. As well as me getting pissed the fuck off thinking about all the dogshit takes that have just been marinating for almost a year. A YouTuber by the name of Flip has done his part in repairing the damage that people such as Sentontes, aka one of the most jobless niggas I've seen, have been doing these past few months. Now, I think I should step in the ring. One of the things that people just don't really seem to understand still about the region is, why is everyone so happy? Why is everyone so joyous and optimistic? Okay, there was Act 4, but a vast majority of the time, it was just tribes of people getting along, surprisingly well-advanced technology, and people enjoying their lives outside of the crisis that they were dealing with. We have tribes like the Children of Echoes and their love of gems and music and dance, and the people of the Springs and their everyday's a vacation kind of mentality, when we were all expecting something along the lines of a gloomy, mysterious, war-torn land with people who love to fight and brawl for sport and personal gain with extremely primitive technology. So, what's the deal? Well, the deal is, if Natlan was really like that, you guys would have hated it and called it racist, but we'll save that discussion for later. Yeah, I'm not getting into that right now. So, yeah. Natlan's the nation of war, just not by choice. Okay, don't get me wrong. Natlan has had a long history with abyssal attacks and all that extra bad stuff, obviously. But it's not what defines them. Beautiful art, amazing music, extreme sports, lovely hot springs, weightlifting competitions. It's all so joyous and quite frankly fun. The land has genuine culture and moderately normal people living their lives. Hell, you can even see it reflected in how some of the NPCs fight. I'm sure you guys have seen those fucking TikTok, YouTube shorts, Sumeru enemies versus Natlan enemies, and how much more threatening and quite frankly hotter the enemies from the Nation of Wisdom are compared to some, the keyword some, of the enemies from the Nation of War are. How some of these NPCs fight are reflective of the fact that these are normal people with bad luck and bad circumstances, but they simply feel emboldened to fight because they care about their nation and family. Granted, if you're slipping up every time you use a claymore, pack it up. Bring yo ass home. You finna get us all killed. Don't piss me off. Which is why Act 4 was so goddamn depressing, and it worked so well. The idea of everything that these people have built and tried to protect just going up in flames, no pun intended, all in an instant is scary. They've tried so hard to keep this at bay, but it all came crashing through the ceiling. And the people that just degrade this to a bunch of Saurians dying, I don't know, bro. Can't be me. This is why the nation idolizes heroes and honors those who've died in battle, along with why winning the pilgrimage and being part of the Night Warden Wars is such a huge honor, because of what those things mean. You're joining the cause, fighting back against the threat for the sake of others, like the heroes of the past have done for ages, to one day live in a Natlan where no one has to die due to the abyss. Oh my god, my articulation skills. Which is what makes that one scene from Act 5 more depressing when you really think about it in post. These people died for their land, and they don't have a place to rest, as well as being forgotten by the same land that they tried to protect due to the issues with the ley lines at the time. I'm gonna be brutally honest, the scene itself lacked the presentation for me to truly care at the time of me playing it, along with the fact that the story at this point in time felt a little dragged out, which is why I kind of feel like that scene would have worked better had it just been like a cinematic, but you get my point. And now that the war is over, the nation can finally be. Granted, I understand why people might have wanted a grimmer and darker story. The only problem is, y'all niggas would not have liked it. A nation where it's a bunch of people fighting, and it's a fiery wasteland where everyone's a bloodthirsty barbarian is uninspired and predictable. So, I wasn't around when the Sumeru Desert dropped, but I heard that a lot of you people did not like it, so why the frick would you like a nation that's just fire and death? In favor of missing out on amazing art direction and scenery, which would honestly be a waste of cultural inspiration and quite frankly an insulting usage of that. But I'ma save that for the character design portion of the video, maybe. I don't know, I sort of stream of consciousness this whole entire script, so I might not even talk about that. I'm just saying, if Natlan really was a nation of flaming plains with tribes at war and bloodthirsty people that love combat, none of the characters can be niggas. No, because really think about that shit. Like, really think about it. The story would literally be a nation of dark individuals killing each other for shits and giggles until a white, or rather, white passing traveler sets them straight. Like, there are a lot of people that think Dory is a stereotype of Arabs despite her not being Arabic and actual Arabs not giving a fuck. But the Natlan y'all want would have had
niggas jumping borders to beat the brakes off Galway.
I'm just saying. Okay, to be fair, a story like that can work with the right execution, but what we got wasn't bad. Not entirely, anyways. I don't think MiHoYo is a flop. And there's a car passing by. Okay, that's lovely. During MiHoYo's release, there was a mountain of people that have made videos and Twitter posts saying that MiHoYo is too bland and she's a Mary Sue. She's the Captain Marvel of Genshin and that there is nothing more to her than a perfect motorcycle goddess. Unless you count the fact that she always pushes all these fucking weird-ass, seemingly impossible tasks onto Zelonin, and is always having her fix her bike at the most inconvenient timing. Kinda like how your parent just has you fix their phone or whatever at the most random-ass inconvenient of times, despite all the times you've shown them that, hey, this is simple, you can do it yourself, but, you know, old people. Granted, you can always shove aside the running gag of MiHoYo bothers Zelonin as just that, a running gag, rather than a serious part of her character. And when you look at MiHoYo's portrayal at a surface level, it does seem like a regression in how they write their god characters, in the fact that the other ones prior had flaws. Raiden's righteousness can cause her to jump into a situation or make certain choices a bit too quickly. Nahida can lack self-confidence and downplays herself. Focalors is dead. And all this is made even weirder given the fact that MiHoYo is the only human archon. Piranha doesn't count. Your goat does not count. So, you'd think she'd be the most flawed, right? Well, there is reason for this. Okay, so, bit of context. First and foremost, she's dedicated so much of her life to stopping the war, as well as going as far as to give up her old one, sacrificing herself to the ancient flame 500 years ago to be reborn again. The sacred flame holds and carries the knowledge of prior pyroarchons for the convenience of any successor, and the flame was still collecting knowledge of the other pyroarchons after her sacrifice. 500 years of memories, pain, loss, yet motive, drive, and ambition. She now has the burden to not only realize her own vision, but the other visions of those that have simultaneously came after and before her. And the thing is, the reason why she is the way she is, the reason why she's a perfect motorcycle goddess is because she figured that she has to be. In one of her character stories, it outright states that she is a perfectionist. She's been given great power and an even greater responsibility, as well as the fact that she's the only human archon. It wouldn't be hard to imagine that she feels somewhat inferior to her divine counterparts, and would try to make up for that gap by being a nigh-invincible and flawless leader. Whereas archons like Venti, they know they're strong, so they take their fault in pride. And through her point of view, there's no reason to be gloomy about anything. She's the leader of the nation, and the only one that can make the dreams of the other pyroarchons come true. She can't afford to be stressed out or crumble over her losses. And even after the wars ended, it's almost like the Pyro Archon is just who she is now. Granted, a nation's still gonna have their issues outside of just some major fight to win, but during her fight with Shibalanke, okay. During her fight with Shibalanke, the Traveler felt it. That moment of fear and hopelessness. But Malwika just pushed it aside and said that she doesn't have time to feel any of those things. Or at the very least, let those feelings take priority of what's actually going on, if that makes sense. Because in battle, there's no time for that. Traveler asks her again at the end of her quest, and unfailingly, she says the same thing. There's just no time for that. Water break, holy fuck. She can't afford to doubt whether or not she can do it, she just has to do it. Otherwise, everything that she and those of the past and present have lost would be for nothing. I mean, the whole incident with Kachina, I've heard that she feels pretty bad about that, so yeah, it would kinda suck for a little girl to go through all that trauma, you know, just for her not to be able to fulfill, like, her 500-year plan, I'm just saying. And it seems like she's not quite ready to settle down yet. In fact, it is for this reason her having a motorcycle is surprisingly in character for her. Vehicles riding on a long road can be symbolic of movement and momentum, as well as moving forward. Though, it seems like people are a bit easier on her with the whole motorcycle aesthetic thing, which is good. You know, I've actually seen people start to like Chaska's design, so the world is definitely healing. Though, most of the backlash for the designs back then was just from the fact that it just wasn't what people wanted. Before Natlan's release, I've actually heard someone say that Kanich looked like HSR Shao, which is the biggest load of dog shit I have ever listened to. I've heard some people try to argue that the characters don't look like they belong to each other, which is a hard disagree. Especially given certain design quirks that a lot of them seem to share with each other, like modern sportswear and shoes, characters having open midriffs because it is Natlan, it is hot there, characters wearing jeans, and characters wearing leather, along with the obvious Aztec symbol and tattoo here and there. Granted, you could say that the modern aesthetics don't really fit the world of Natlan because of the giant dinosaurs. It's a fantasy game, so it can be weird, as well as the fact that there's still cultural inspiration behind their designs, aside from the tattoos, like Kanich for example. He has this whole 8-bit gamer thing, but there are two reasons why his aesthetic is like that. One, that nigga is Dendro. That's the first reason. Two, his whole thing is a reference to how the Mayans carved pictures into buildings. It just so happens that it looks like it's in an 8-bit style. And take Veressa for example. People came out the woodwork to call her fat, ugly, made edits of her being that, but her design and fighting style is based off of luchadores. The hatred towards the designs extend towards the technology the characters use too. Mostly because people just thought it would be more primitive, and no one was expecting one of the most sexiest, most nonchalant dread-headedness, baddest female characters to be riding a fucking flying gun. If you wanted to say that the concepts for the technology are ridiculous, then go ahead. But the presentation isn't jarring. The aesthetic of the technology has the same bright colors and graffiti effects that every other place in Natlan has. I mean, the ancient dragons did have advanced technology, and they lived in Natlan long before going away. I think it's not too hard to imagine that the people of Natlan would take some of that and improve on it and give it its own unique flair. I'm sorry if I'm just repeating myself, but most of the hate really just does come from unmet wishes. The designs are still well thought out and culturally detailed. This really does come to show how predictable and bland the idea of Natlan really was. Fiery wasteland where niggas wear rags. Which, in my non-white opinion, that would have been a way more racist use of the culture that inspired Natlan than just the characters not being dark enough. You're allowed to not like a design. I think Chaska is chef's kiss. And her design really isn't as cluttered as people say it is. But for some fucking reason, people kept going on like it was a design from hell. And it's getting even worse because there are people who think that I know is chopped.
Bitch, what?
I'm sorry. Can you niggas actually see? Actually, most of you guys can't read, so probably not. Whoop, boop, 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 boop. We made it to the end of the video. Yippee! Natlan doesn't feel like Genshin.
Yes, the fuck it does.
Honestly, I've seen people like suddenly hint to this every now and then, and that's saying that Natlan feels so different, and that the Mikawa festival event was such a nice pace back to formula. Shut the fuck up. Genshin's storytelling and world building really started to evolve during Sumeru, and they kept it up in Fontaine. And then Natlan came along and it just ran a mile with it and kept it up. Yeah, Natlan didn't really do anything crazy aside from giving us playable vehicular manslaughter. I get that the power of friendship themes might have gotten annoying, but it's not new. They were just more sophisticated about it. I get that the Pyro Archon was a complete 180 from what we were expecting from a God of War, but let's be honest. Did you guys honestly expect for the God of Wisdom to be a white lol? Not a cry feels like Genshin again. Niggas will say anything at this point, to be honest with you. Like, when people says it feels like Genshin again, they're probably talking about, like, the old days, 1.0, 1.2. But, like, the Not a Cry trailer just does not have those vibes at all. Yeah, there is no argument here. I'm just sick of all these surface level criticisms. Granted, 5.x was not perfect, right? 5.x was not perfect. They gave us Stygian Onslaught, which, oh boy. Defeat a boss with inflated HP under a time limit. Don't think we've ever done that before. As well as the fact that Genshin's still missing a lot of the quality of life features it has that other gacha games have. There are a lot of things that Genshin really should be criticized about. And Natlan's story and Natlan's Archon quests was not perfect. Like, Act 5, I feel like, really dropped the ball on certain aspects. But after the fight with Gyoza, I feel like it kind of picked itself back up. Yeah. At the end of the day, these are my opinions, and I'm only being facetious, and I'm not actually trying to attack anyone. But hey, if there's no pushback, I wouldn't mind. In fact, the lack of pushback might actually fix my soul. But yeah.
That's the video. I'm so happy you made it this far.
I hope you all have an awesome day, including some of the people that made all these fucking weird-ass takes. Thank you so much for watching. Love you.